and I have a great call with you today to discuss leasing and how to write a lease and go over all the details of a lease. A little disclaimer here, although I am not an attorney or a CPA, I do write a lot of my own leases, but I always have my attorneys verify them, check them out, because all leases are binding. For those that don't know me, I am a hedge fund manager. I have a fund since 2009. We operate in San Francisco mainly, buying properties, selling properties. We actually are expanding into commercial real estate. I also am an educator. I have a website and a training company. I've been training people for 15 years doing live events nationwide, but mainly in California. The training website is cmrei.com for Cherif, Medawar Real Estate Investing. We've trained over 100,000 people. We have in the database a lot of people that are very active students and very nice success stories from people that have made money going out there applying the strategies I've been teaching. The website for the hedge fund is mixif.com, which is Medawar International Group Secured Income Fund. I'm also an author. For those that actually know me from the authorship, I've written the book Blue Ocean Opportunities in Commercial Real Estate, and we had some wonderful write-ups last year from many websites like Yahoo, and we even had something on Fox News, Forbes. We were bestseller last year on Amazon in, I think it was August. So the idea of the book here, we talked about commercial real estate, and I talked about creating your own way of making money and not competing and dropping prices, etc. It was very exciting. I also had the opportunity. I wrote a blog which actually was picked up by Forbes, and they asked me to co-author a book with Steve Forbes. This was a wonderful opportunity, and I got to meet him in person. And this is my photo with him in New York. I did a whole presentation about the 12 steps to success. And actually tomorrow at noon, I have a radio interview about the 12 steps to success, how to become financially free, and all basically using the proper strategies for commercial real estate, which is not so difficult and rather simple. Some of you had asked by email in the office, say, what's going on with Cherif on the website with some billionaires taking photos. I was at the Puerto Rico Investment Summit that was held last Thursday and Friday in April 2014 here. And what was exciting is they talked about how the U.S. Congress has set up these tax incentives. Now, as you know, I've talked about these tax incentives since 2009. All of a sudden, everybody wants to know about them this year. We are, for those, the students of my training events and all this, you guys are 6 years ahead of everybody else. But it's kind of nice because after I did my little presentation, all this, the gentleman on the right side is John Polson, who I had a very nice chat with him and shook hands, and I couldn't pass the opportunity to take a photo. And John Polson manages the Polson Fund with $22.5 billion in New York, and he created an office in Puerto Rico and saved $4 billion in taxes. You can see the smile on his face. He regained hair after saving so much in taxes. And the gentleman on the left side here is Nicholas Prouty of the Putnam Bridge Fund. That is a fund worth $18 billion, and he also avoided taxes legally. And I'm not saying deduced, avoided taxes legally by actually having his office in Puerto Rico through some peculiar codes and some U.S. Congress tax incentives, and actually just bought a marina in Puerto Rico for $1 billion. He was there, and I was chatting with him, and the gentleman, he's an attorney, they came over. He said, would I like a picture with him? I said, sure, just get me a copy. It's kind of nice to chat with these people. You find they're down to earth. They started always small. They built on it. They had a system, and that's what I'm trying to relate to you. You can have a system. I'm going to share with you my system. How did it all start for me? No, it wasn't Ronald Reagan that helped me. It was the gentleman standing next to him, Edmond Bessari. This is the first time I ever show his photo. I've talked about him since 1999. This is the first time I ever show it. I don't know. I'm in the mood tonight. And Edmond Bessari, this is a photo taken quite a few years back. And he's now in his late 70s. And I'm still in touch with him. Edmond Bessari, if you don't know my story, I was working at a hotel in Los Angeles at the Century Plaza Hotel in 1980. And Edmond Bessari was a guest. He's a billionaire. He has properties all over the world. And he came over and he said, listen, Cherif, I've noticed how hard you work, how many hours you put. Tell me a little about yourself. And within a few minutes, he made me an offer that changed my life. He said, come and work for me. I'll show you stuff you've never seen. I'll show you how to put deals together, how commercial real estate works. There is a system. There are formulas, and anyone can follow them. I will change your life. I just want you to come and work for me. And I am a fast decision maker. I feel that I was at the right place at the right time, and I always feel that. Made the decision to work for him, and it changed my life, and I'm trying to give it back so many years later. This is, by the way, a photo here. I took it the year before last, in I think it was November. I went to his chateau. This chateau is in the Loire Valley in France. If you Google Edmond Bessari, Forbes magazine wrote an article about the chateau last year in April 24. The chateau is worth $100 million. It's one of his residences. I went there. I've been there several times. I'm actually going back this year in September. I went there just to help him for a couple of things. He's negotiating with the government of France for, believe it or not, for some tax reduction, because the French love to tax the rich, and he does not like to pay taxes, and he likes to follow the law, and he likes to follow straight arrow methods that are legal. And I was there a year and a half ago doing it, and I'm going to go again in September just to finalize what we started. And what I'm trying to show you here is there is a big world out there, and people that follow systems can make it. So I want to tell you the system that I have actually relayed to many people, and we created over 1,000 success stories on YouTube. You can see them if you put my name. It's the FACT system. And it starts with the F for finding the single tenant buildings. These are great properties that stand alone in busy locations. And if you find a property that's vacant like this, and you actually analyze the numbers, figure out what the income would be, the cap rate, capitalization rate, what it would bring as income, then you will be able to work a formula that I've talked about in other webinars to figure out the value of the property if you bring in the right tenant. And since the property is vacant, you want to control it and you want to put it under contract. I give those that work with me, I have a joint venture program. I give you a proof of fund for $3.3 million with my own money, my fund money, and you can go in and say to the sellers, I have proof of funds, I work with Cherif Medawar's fund, here's how you can check it out, and here's the proof of funds with the bank. I'd like to put this property under contract. They take you seriously, we put it under contract, you will learn exactly how to do a basic due diligence, talk to tenants, and line up a great tenant. You have to time the process. The T of the FACT system has to do with timing the process, which is you're trying to get a national tenant interested. I'm going to give you 4,000 national tenants that grow, that give the right leases, that want long-term leases. These are big companies that constantly grow. We constantly update the list. And I tell you, what I need you to get is an LOI, letter of intent. That means a tenant will say, let's say Subway would say, I'd like to lease the space. I'll pay X per month for 120 months, which is say 10 years. They may want it for 15. And they say, we're going to pay triple net. That means they pay the lease net of taxes, insurance, and maintenance. That means they pay also the property tax, the property insurance, and property maintenance, and they give a corporate guarantee. And if you have that lined up, the property under contract and the actual letter of intent lined up, what you do is you then email me and you assign the lease to me. I pay you a lot of money for these leases. A lot of students can make money without needing a lot of money. You don't need to use your credit. All you need is very little money to lock in the property under contract, and I train people to do this. That's why I do it. It's low risk for you, and the only capital you need is a few $1,000s to lock in the property under contract. Usually it's about $5,000. That's not even at risk, because if you can't find a tenant, you can change your mind and walk away. So what's the most important thing that I get when I actually assign the property to me? I get the lease. I talk to the tenant and I sign the lease with them. I buy the property all cash through my fund, and we talk to the tenant and we get the lease. And I want you to know this call is going to be about the lease. I could spend days talking about leases. It's very exciting for me because it's all money. It's all money. It's just beautiful stuff. The lease agreement is the most important part of the valuation of a commercial retail property, especially if it's a single tenant building. Single tenant is a standalone building. So let's talk a little bit about leases. And you have, let me see here. Okay, so let me pull the lease. I'll tell you this lease that I'm showing you here with the updated, the way I changed it and the way I've done the paragraphs and the changes cost me no less than $8,000. It costs a lot of money to have a good attorney draft a lease for you. I give you the best leases. Those that want to do joint venture with me, I will walk you through it. I'll analyze the leases. And because I have personal interest in it, you will assign the property to me. I would want you to do another one and a third one with me. And if you want to do some on your own, God bless. I'm so happy. So let's talk about single tenant building lease. So this is a 26-page lease. So I'm not going to go through all the nuances, but I'm going to go through the paragraph and tell you what's important in each section. So I'm hoping you got a pen in hand and you're listening carefully, and you're actually, unfortunately, I'm not going to take questions on this call, but those that are going to join the joint venture program, you know, you have me and we can talk, and we have our calls on Mondays and we can follow up, etc., etc. So pay some close attention and understand that the agreement is actually nothing more than an arrangement, a contract arrangement between the lessee, the user, the tenant, we call it subway to make it easy, and the lessor, which is the owner, the landlord, which let's say is me, Cherif Medawar. So subway, the tenant, wants to lease from Cherif Medawar, the owner, the lessor, and let's say the property is financed by Bank of America, just to now get all the parties that are important here. So the whole idea is it's a contractual agreement. It's an arrangement between them to control and occupy the building and me who own the asset. They want to use the asset, they're going to have to pay. So it's an agreement between the landlord, which is the owner, me, to lease the premise to these people, to the tenants, to Subway, and according to some terms and conditions. So first of all, the tenants, like a Subway, are not going to come in and want me to change the floor and do some work. They want to do their own work. They have their own standards. If you're leasing to Tommy Hilfiger, if you're leasing to a jewelry company, they have their own standards. So the beauty about this is no landlord's work. Does this mean I'm going to give them something in shambles? No. That means I'm going to give them something that is what's called a shell. That means you got the walls, you got the floor, you got the ceiling, all workable condition, and air conditioning. And look here, the property consists of a certain land having a site area of approximately so many square meters or square feet. It all depends. Now this one here, I used square meter because this specifically was done in a location where it was Puerto Rico, so they actually talked about square meters. All right? Now, the key word here is approximately. You always want to tell the tenant you have the right to measure before you finalize the lease. So you don't want them to come back and say, you told me it's 2,051 square feet, but it's only 2,011. You don't want that. You say it's approximately, and I'm leasing this as approximately, so I'm not going to negotiate the exact square footage. So pretty simple. We always want to say approximately. And I'm leasing the premises in an as-is, you see right here, as-is where is condition. Landlord has no obligation and has made no promise to alter, remodel, improve, repair, decorate, or paint the premises. No representations respecting the condition of the premises. So we're telling them, take it as is, do your stuff in it, and make it happen. The terms. The terms is how many years they're going to actually lease. Now, I want you to understand that when it comes to the tenant coming into a building, there are three important dates. There is what's called the execution date. Execution date is the date they execute the contract. There is what's called occupancy date or possession date, which is the date they actually occupy the space. And guess what? And they give them a couple months free rent because they're going to have to do some work in the space. They're going to have to get their designers, etc. So they may have possession of the space but not pay the rent. And then there is a third important date called commencement date. So I repeat, execution date, execution of the lease, possession date or occupancy date, which is the date they occupy the space, and then commencement date, which is the date I like most, which is when they start paying rent. I like commencement dates. I actually, when they occupy the space, well, usually when they do the execution, they have to execute and give me the first month deposit, the 1 month deposit and the first month's rent. So that's the beauty. You start getting money right away. The whole idea is they want to make money, you want to make money, and everybody is benefiting and everybody's adding value to somebody. The terms, we spell the terms as initial term, let's say 10 years. Option to extend. Some tenants request an option. Hey, we may stay 15. Can we have an option to extend an extra 5 years? I'm not crazy about options. I usually don't want to give options, so I don't usually give options. I like them to be straight leases. Why? Because then they obligate themselves to longer term, and when they obligate themselves to longer term, guess what? The banks love it. They give me credit lines on it. They help me refinance. And guess what? If they cancel, they're obligated. They'll pay me a lot of money to get out of that lease. So I like initial term to be 10 years. I may give options, but I usually don't. The rent, that is what's called base rent, which is, okay, you're going to pay me, let's say, $10,000 a month. That's base rent. There is additional rent, which could be maybe a percentage. Maybe, you know what, if you sell over $1.5 million, you're going to give me 6% of gross. I see additional rent could also be you're going to have to pay the property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. So there is always what's called additional rent. And the additional rent is common area maintenance, okay? You remember the tenant has to pay for taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities, and all that. That's why we call them triple net. We usually, as landlords, as owners of the properties, we pay for structure. That means if the roof has a leak, that's a structural problem. But you can get what's called absolute triple net, or it's also called quadruple net, where the tenant says, I will pay for the roof. I will pay for anything that the property needs. This is beautiful. They will usually pay a little bit less on the rent because then they're responsible for everything. But you know what? This is freedom. They just pay for everything. You'll never have to hear about any leaks or any issues. I like triple net because I charge them a little bit more. I usually put a sealer on the roofs. I get like a rubber sealer for $10,000 and it has a warranty for 10 years. So I end up collecting more rent. I get the deposit from these tenants. I put the rubber sealer and I don't have to hear about any problems and I'm getting cash flow directly deposited in my bank account. I love single tenant retail because I don't have to work on these day in, day out. It's not like hotels or apartment buildings or search facilities where you constantly have to market and manage. These are turnkey. And you get the building, you line up the tenant, they turn the key. All right. So we talked about additional rent. The rent is always paid in advance, as you know. And taxes. Now they're going to pay the taxes. This is legalese here on paragraph number 5. You know, the attorneys put out the taxes are this and that, and you know, if you get reassessed or if we get whatever, the tenant is responsible to pay it, etc. Be careful when it comes to the tax clauses. If we were signing a lease like I did the lease in California, and the tenant wanted to put into the tax section that if I sell the property so many years later, they're going to keep paying the tax based on the assessment that I had when they started the lease. In other words, because in California they don't increase property taxes as long as the same owner, they don't increase it that much. It's called Proposition 13. Let's say I buy the property for $2 million. I place a tenant, it's now worth $4 million. And I sell it a few years later at $5 million with the escalation. I mean, yes, crazy numbers, but this is how it works. If you come and buy from me at $5 million, now the property tax will be assessed not at $2 million, which was like $20,000 a year, it's about 1%, but it's assessed now the value of the property at $5 million, so the property taxes are $50,000. So guess what? That $30,000 difference, the tenant is supposed to pay for it. So I made sure the tenant strike that. I said, no, you have to pay whatever the taxes are each year, whether I own it, somebody else owns it, whatever the tax assessed by the county and the tax bill comes in, you pay it. And they went for it because they wanted the location. I mean, $30,000 a year for them is nothing. These companies could sell millions of dollars in a location. So the tax is paragraph 5 usually, and it's standard work. Utilities, we say that they will directly pay the water, sewer, gas, electric, etc. I, as the landlord, don't want to deal with it. Insurance, I love the insurance clause. We say the tenant will have to get insurance for their business. Other matters, they also have to get insurance that actually protect me, and they have to get it from companies that are wonderful companies that are rated A insurances. They have to put me as additional insured. They have to put my lender as additional insured. You see this clause right here, landlord's current lender is an additional insured. See, the landlord is the owner, but the owner usually has a loan against the property. So the lender wants to make sure that somebody's paying insurance and they're getting a copy for it. And since the tenant is paying the insurance, they have to tell that insurance company to put the properties covered for Cherif, Medawar, and for Bank of America. You see? So it's beautiful. They indemnify me. That means, you see, I don't have any issues. If somebody slips and falls in the property because, I don't know, they didn't clean the floor or something, I cannot get sued. They indemnify me. That means they protect me. They will not come after me. None of their customers, employees, or any of their issues. The use clause, which is number 8, is what the tenant's going to do in the premises. Now, usually the landlord wants to narrow this. I want to know what they're going to do. It's important to know what they're going to do. The landlord wants to say, hey, listen, I want to use it the way I want to use it. I'm paying you the rent. Let me use it for any lawful purpose. But it's interesting because if you get into now strip malls or shopping malls, the use clause is very important because you may have a tenant like an ice cream place that will say, okay, I'm coming in, but I want an exclusive. I don't want any other ice cream shop here, and I'll pay you a premium for the rent. So any other tenants coming in, they got to tell you, use clause, we're going to sell sandwiches and soda, but, excluding ice cream. They cannot sell just ice cream. It's got to be like only this and that. So you got to be careful how you word it. In single tenant retail, it's not a big deal. It's not a big problem. I just let the tenants tell me what they want to use it. And, usually it's a pretty simply worded paragraph by the attorneys saying that they will sell whatever is lawful. They can sell goods. They can sell services, et cetera, et cetera. Now, number 9, compliance with laws. We say that the tenant is obligated to comply with any ordinance, any building code, any regulation. They cannot, like in my buildings, I don't want them to sell anything immoral and no pornographic or sexually oriented or related businesses. I mean, I'm not interested in that. I do not condone that. I mean, can you imagine my kids asking, hey, Dad, what's the next, who is this new tenant you have? Well, some X-rated company. This is just the worst thing. But anyway, it's not a moral thing here about, whatever is legal, but I can now create my own guidelines and tell the tenants, your obligation is to do this, comply with the city ordinances, do not be in violation of anything. If you need to get permits, use permits, etc., you need to get them, etc. And they have to be in compliance with environmental laws. I don't want them to be disposing of material that can create fires or issues, etc. And also this paragraph says that if the tenant has any notification from the city, they need to notify me because it affects my asset, my building. Usually these big tenants will handle the issue immediately with their staff and their attorneys. So they are great companies to work with, and I've never had a problem. For God knows how many years I've dealt with these tenants and large companies. They don't create problems. They actually solve problems. They focus on business. And but these are standard clauses in contracts. So then we go to paragraph 10, which is assignments and leases. This is a very interesting paragraph because I'm telling the tenant, hey, Subway, you're going to lease from me for 10 years or 15 years. Now, they want to have the right to be able to assign the lease to somebody else. Well, I don't want to give them assignments. Here's the most important paragraph in this. It says, tenant will neither assign this lease in whole or in part, nor sublease all or part of the premises without landlord's prior written consent. That means they can do anything. They cannot assign it to somebody else and walk away, and they cannot sublease it to somebody else and walk without my consent, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld, conditioned, or delayed. Well, here is the beauty. I am still in charge. I'm still in control as the landlord. But I don't mind at all if they come in and they say, we want to, look, we're Subway, we want to sublease to Quiznos. Guess what? It's fine with me. Because what ends up happening, I'll have 2 corporate guarantees. One from Subway, one from Quiznos, or one from Tommy Hilfiger, one from Guess Jeans, whoever they're subleasing to. Now, what is the condition that I would have? You see this one here says a net worth equal to. So if I'm leasing to a company that has a net worth of 200 million, when they actually going to sublease to somebody else, I want the other party to have at least another 200 million. So it's all about financial power because for me, these are assets. They represent for me future streams of income. I buy properties for their earning power. I don't buy them for ego. I don't buy them for the color. I couldn't care less about location. All I want is the tenant telling me, I like this, I'm in. And I look at the tenant. You got a corporate guarantee? How many years you going to sign? God bless. Let's go in and do some business. And what happens here with this sublease is, look at this paragraph. This is very important. It says, in connection with such subletting or assignment, which payment is greater in amount or value than is paid or payable by tenant to landlord under this lease, 50% of all such excess rental shall belong and be paid directly to landlord. In other words, if I am leasing to Subway and for 10 years, and 4 years into it, they want to sublease to another company, I say, fine, do it. And you know what? If you get me more rent than you're paying me, so if you will get $15,000, guess what? I'm not going to keep the whole $5,000 additional rental income. You brought it, you keep 50%. I create an incentive for them to go make some money with me. So instead of being hard-nosed about it and saying, no, I'm leasing to you and you cannot sublease, I tell people, go and sublease. And you know what? If you sublease for more because the market is booming and everything is moving up, you can make half what I'm going to make. Because it's an incentive for them, and economics, the study of economics is a study of incentives, as you probably heard me say that before. And so why not? Let them make some money. If it's not working for them, let them get another tenant. They all know each other, and let them charge them a little bit more, and we all benefit. Signs, paragraph 11, it's standard, install signs that are approved by law. Repairs and maintenance, hey, you're obligated, you, the tenant, are obligated to maintain the property and repair anything that's happening. I am obligated, I am obligated to maybe, fix the roof or do this and that. And actually, in some leases, I say that if I fix the roof or exterior walls of the building, I can build them back and amortize it over the remainder time of the lease. It's actually called, as you see it here, operating expenses, mean any of landlord's costs that are attributable to repairing, maintaining, replacement, operating, and providing services to and for the building, the property. For the building, the property, the premises. In other words, yeah, I'll pay for it, but you know what? I'll bill you. I'll bill you. Sounds good. So very exciting. Not only do they pay me the triple net, but then whatever I pay for structure, I end up billing them back. I'm telling you, this lease is so good. The tenants that tried to leave paid me millions of dollars, and I've showed it in classes before just to get out of the lease. This is airtight. This is worth a lot of money here. It took me years to get it to that level. My attorneys that worked with me used to represent tenants exclusively, and then I had them represent me as a landlord. So, alterations. We say to the tenant, hey, don't make any changes or repairs over so much money unless you let me know. So, but you know what? I don't care because they're improving the property. I just want to know, what are you going to do? You're going to, split that high ceiling. You're going to make an extra mezzanine level on the side. Okay, just let me know. Don't send me the information. Usually they do all this when they get in. End of term, I said, the end of the term, you got to give me a notice, let's say 90 days before. And sometimes I ask for 6 months before. I rent the spaces pretty fast, so I ask only for 90 days. You can ask for 6 months prior to the lease expiring on the 10th year. 6 months prior, they notify you, hey, we're not going to renew, or we don't wish to extend. And, that's it. Then they gotta give me the property back in a good condition, better than I give it to them. And if they put any trades or fixtures or equipment or whatever, they want to leave it, we'll talk. I'd like to keep it if it makes any sense. If not, I'll ask them to dispose of it. If they want me to dispose of it, they're going to have to pay me some money, which is fine. It's very easy negotiated, and we just do an inspection at the end. Damage and destruction. So I say here in this paragraph that if there is any reason, for any reason the building gets destroyed and it's going to take time to rebuild it, okay, well, I'm not going to give rent abatement. I'm not going to drop the rent. But, if the building because of some hurricane or whatever and the insurance or whatever problem is going to take more than 6 months, well, then we have the chance to terminate this lease and whatever. But remember, you have insurance. So if you lose them, the insurance will cover. Condemnation, if the city comes in and says we're going to condemn this building, we put it in writing, hey, they can't come after me. This is not something I control. That's it. Then it's done. and whenever the city says this, we're going to take it eminent domain or whatever, we're going to condemn the building for whatever reason, then it's end of story. The lease ends, and they just go on their merry way, and we go separate ways. Subordination. Subordination is what the lenders want. The lenders say, hey, listen, Cherif, let's say Bank of America, you're going to lease this building to Subway. They need to sign a subordination clause. They need to know that there is a loan here, and that if you default and we take over, that we have a mortgage, and that takes superiority over the lease. And tenants will sign it, will not have a problem, provided the bank signs what's called a non-disturbance agreement, or it's also called attornment, which is, frankly, what the tenant is saying is, okay, don't disturb me, Mr. Lender, Mrs. Lender. If I am paying, I understand if Cherif doesn't pay you and you have to foreclose on him, but don't disturb me if I'm paying you the rent. And the lender says, fine. So think of it this way. Lenders require subordination clauses, and tenants require non-disturbance clauses. So we put it right here. Hey, Mr. Tenant, Mrs. Tenant, you're aware that I have a lender and that they have a priority. And you know what? The lender is aware that you're leasing here and that if you pay, they will not disturb you. And if the tenant then requires a form signed, they'll send you a form called non-disturbance agreement. Actually, it's called subordination non-disturbance agreement, SNDA. And then they send you the SNDA. You take it to the bank, or you fax it to the bank. You say, hey, I'm going to put a tenant that has this corporate guarantee and this and that. Would you like to sign that you will keep them if I don't pay you? They will pay you? The bank says, thank you. Yes, would love that, because the corporate guarantee and the income will help us resell it if you don't pay us. So it's beautiful. Everybody wins. Absolute upside. Let me tell you, writing leases is one of the best ways to make it a win-win-win. The bank is happy, the tenant is happy, me as a landlord, I'm happy, the community is happy, because then there are workers, there are shoppers. I mean, I'm telling you, the more I look at these commercial properties, it's a game where everybody wins. No opponents. I love that game. Landlord access. Now, I say that I would like to have access to the property. I'll give them a notice in advance to come in and look at the property in case there is anything is needed. Maybe I need to tour the property. Maybe I'm touring somebody for the property. But I just need to notify them because they have the right to quiet enjoyment. That's all we're saying. Here is the indemnification, or I told you they didn't indemnify me as the landlord, except for any liability arising out of the willful acts or negligence of a landlord. I mean, unless I'm willfully going in there punching one of their customers, which I can do so because I have a great asset protection program, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. I will not do that. But anyway, indemnification meaning I'm not going to do any willful acts that could hurt their business, and don't indemnify me from any fines, penalties, any damages, or any losses that they incur during their operation, business, and what they're doing. So it's a beautiful way to operate. You have a building, it's producing income for you, you have the actual insurance, you have indemnification. What a wonderful way to do business. You put the tenant once and you have income forever. I love asking for security deposit. I will usually ask for 1 month. Have I ever asked for more than 1 month? Well, there was a company starting. It was a franchisee. Somebody had a license agreement with the division of Cartier called Lancel de Paris, which is a division that started, and they wanted to be in the Caribbean, and they wanted to lease from me. Well, because they were new, and they couldn't give me a corporate guarantee, but I loved their product, and it was backed by Cartier, I asked them for a 6 months deposit. And guess what? They gave me a 6 month deposit, and they bought an insurance bond. It's called a surety bond, that in case they default, the insurance will actually cover up to 1 year, provided I show that I'm mitigating my losses. So meaning that I'm actively looking for another tenant and all this. So really, I got 6 months deposit and a secured it's called a surety bond for the tenant. The tenant paid for it. They put the deposit, and the insurance checked their background and gave me insurance that they will pay. Very powerful, extremely beneficial. But again, when you have a small tenant, it doesn't make the value of the building as high as when you have the national tenants. Covenant of quiet enjoyment, as long as the tenant pays on time, hey, they can enjoy it quietly. They don't pay on time, it's not going to be fun. And actually, these tenants have strong corporate guarantees. So we go after the corporate guarantee, and it becomes even more profitable. Limitation on tenant recourse. The tenant can do much to me as a landlord. It's limited to the property and what I offer them, and it's a very simple paragraph here that protects me as a landlord. In case of default, they have a time to cure. That means they have time to make it up with a little late fee that they pay. Actually, only once I've had a tenant that paid me wrong. It was, I don't want to say the name of the tenant, but let's just put it this way. They had a new computer system. They entered the wrong address for my property, and they sent the check to the wrong landlord. We were late. They were 7 days late. Then I got a call from them. They said, "Oh, so sorry, we just got the check back. We sent it to New York instead of sending it to your address in California, whatever." And I said to the accountant, I said, "Okay, well, you just owe me a late fee of $800. And he paused for a moment, and he said, "Let me look at the lease here. Yes, I could see it in the paragraph right here. All right, no problem, sir. We'll send that in a separate check together with the FedEx." How nice. $800. My wife and I went shopping. I've been praying since that somebody else send me a check late, but they don't. They send it on time. And it's fine. I enjoy rental payments coming on time. Events of default. So if they're in default, well, they have 3 days written notice from me. Right away, we take action, and they have so many days to cure, etc. And it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. These clauses the attorney would put for you. If they're in breach of contract, then boom, we get them out. And it's not difficult to evict these national tenants because they don't want any bad press. And guess what? We go after the corporate guarantee and the bank credit lines that sign for the corporate guarantee. So there are remedies, and the remedies are spelled out. These are all attorney clauses that make these contracts airtight. But I'm going to tell you something. When you have a tenant that's going broke, the most important thing, or that wants out, the most important thing you have is the actual corporate guarantee that you got, the deposits you got, etc. Thank God, I'm always focused on corporate guarantees, so I've never had these big issues. As a matter of fact, the few tenants that wanted to leave because they had change of direction in terms of their expansions, etc., had to pay me a very hefty fee to buy the lease back, and I was able to line up another tenant before they even left. And the other tenant paid me more because the place was already remodeled. Actually, the downside is an upside in that business. Paragraph 24, arbitration, meaning, hey, we're not going to go to a jury and a court and all this. We're going to arbitrate this, and most arbitrations demand mediation first, so we can sit across the table and mediate. Usually it won't come to that. They'll call you, they'll offer you something, then you can actually accept or refuse. You can consult with the attorney, but there is an arbitration clause. Saves you money, saves them money, and makes things a lot more amicable at the end if there is a problem somewhere during the lease terms. There is here in this clause, the miscellaneous, and we say that if the tenant want to record the lease, they cannot do that without my consent. You cannot put a lien, because recording a lease on a property creates cloud on title. They have to get my consent. They have to get my approval. That's very important. Now, if you're listening to me and you're a tenant, and you're leasing from a landlord, and you need help, and you have joined me for the joint venture, we'll be happy to go over the agreement, and I can help you here and there. But let me tell you, if you're a tenant, you should always ask the landlord to record that lease, and you go and record it. It's going to cost you a couple bucks, but you know what? This way they cannot play games with you. You have cloud on title as long as you pay. If they sell the property, the new buyer will honor the lease, etc. Holding over. Holding over meaning if the lease expired, you see, the lease expired, you're paying me $10,000 a month, and you signed for 10 years with 3% increase every year. So we're going 10,000, 10,300, then it compounds on itself. So come to the end of the lease, let's say you're paying, the tenant is paying $13,800 every month. And now they're supposed to leave, but they don't leave. They're holding over the space. They said they're going to leave, but they're not leaving. It's the 10th year, it's 120 months, and it's the 121st month. Well, guess what? Right here, they're holding over. They're going to pay 150% of the monthly rent. So the 13,000, guess what? It becomes an additional 50% of 13,000 is 6,500. So then the lease becomes 19,500. They have to pay. They're obligated to pay. It's a clause there to obligate the tenant to call you before the lease expires and says, okay, I need to renew. Can we talk about the new terms, etc. Estoppel certificates are proofs. If, let's say I'm going to sell the building, I need an estopper from them. They write, yes, we'll pay you this lease, we'll put this the deposit, and here is the backup. So they cooperate and make it simple. The rest, frankly, is the actual simple and miscellaneous wording. I wanted to show you here the actual. We waive a jury trial. We pay attorneys. Each one pay their own attorney's fees. It's all just standard stuff here. Guarantee. This lease is contingent upon the guarantee of all the tenant's obligations under the lease by, and then we'll put the name of the corporate office. Subway, let's say Subway Incorporated. You see? And then there is Exhibit B, which now there is the attachment of the guarantee. So Exhibit A is the legal description of the site, of the property. It says, the legal description that you have from the county about the property. All right? Then Exhibit B is the guarantee. Here is the corporate guarantee. They put it right here. They sign it. The guarantor, the CEO signs. It is a witness that signs. It gets notarized. And it's beautiful because now we have the lease, we have the guarantee, and we're able to actually have peace of mind. We have the income. So it is extremely powerful. And again, writing the right lease is all based on the letter of intent you're gonna negotiate before you get to the lease. The more you negotiate in the letter of intent, the easier it's gonna be. So I've never gone so fast into a lease of 26 pages. We've done it actually in 29 minutes flat. So sometimes I scare myself. The value of an investment is in its earning power. Buy real estate based on each property's future streams of income and how secure these earnings will be over time. I practice what I preach. I'm telling you, you can work with me and make this happen. Go get a property in your own town, then get a good tenant to sign a letter of intent, and I will help you negotiate the letter of intent if you're working with me on these. And you could make more money from the assignment fee, assigning it to me and my fund, with a lot less risk and hassle than flipping a bunch of homes. I promise you that. We have so many students that want to know how to do this. So here's your chance. I want you to know this business, guys. We have success stories after success stories lining up right now, and it's getting very exciting. I want you to learn how to identify good opportunities. I want you to learn how to work the numbers. It's a pretty simple formula. How to negotiate a contract to buy a property using my proof of fund of $3.3 million with no risk whatsoever. If there was a risk, I wouldn't hand you a proof of fund and obligate things. What to say to tenants when you get them to respond to you, when I get you that list and tell you what to say and how to respond and what to say and how to get the tenant excited so they can negotiate with you the LOI. I'll go over an LOI with you. I'll show you how to time the entire process, how to assign, make some very, very good profit. How much profit? I'll tell you. You assign to my fund by following the fact system that I explained to you, and this is how you get paid. You get a property under contract, say at $600,000 because it's sitting vacant. You line up a tenant, let's say paying $8,300 a month. That's $100,000 a year. That's triple net. At a 10% cap, that means $100,000. Capital invested will be $1 million. To get 10% return is $100,000 on a 10-year lease. I mean, this property will be worth $1 million because you place the tenant that pays $100,000. Let me repeat. This property that you have under contract at $600,000 sitting vacant is now worth $1 million. It looks the same, it's the same size, it's the same location, but the reason it's worth $1 million is because it's going to produce income of $100,000 a year because you lined up the tenant. That is called a 10% cap. That means somebody has capital of $1 million and they want 10% return. They're going to pay $1 million for that income coming from this tenant. You negotiate the letter of intent with the tenant. It's going to make the building worth $1 million. Now, my fund, Mixif, I'll close on this property all cash. And I pay the $600,000 all cash. The property is worth $1 million, so there is a $400,000 difference. You get 10% to 25%. That means you get $40,000 to $100,000 assignment fee. You don't have to be licensed. You don't have to be good looking. You don't have to be healthy. You don't have to do anything crazy. I'm telling you, if you focus on this, you can do it in your own backyard. I'm not asking you to come over to Southern California or Northern California or go to Miami. Where you are, where you live, do it. I pay you through the HUD one, which is the closing statement through the title company, because I have to show everything. I'm running a fund, which is with the SEC, and this is very exciting for those that want to do this. So how do you get involved? How do you make it happen? You do something like what Daniel Ning did. Daniel got involved. He understood the DCBA system that I have. I do go through the definitions, the concept, the business model, and the action. He sent me this email and he said, Cherif, go ahead and share it with the world. Tell them, I'm very excited. Daniel is getting CEOs of companies to respond to him. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, he sent an email and he followed up by phone call. He's following the steps, step by step. I'm very proud of him. Daniel, I applaud you for what you're doing, and you guys will see, we're going to have a YouTube video with Daniel as soon as he gets his check, and we're around the corner to closing a fantastic deal with Daniel. By the way, I'm a hedge fund manager. I want to do this with less than 10 people. You can enroll. I can do a one-on-one consultation with you. We can do it by phone, or you can come and spend 1.5 days with me. I do the events in Puerto Rico, in Old San Juan, where I have $50 million of commercial portfolio that I hold personally, right next to where the cruise ships arrive. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, part of the U.S. The picture on top here is on top of one of my buildings. It's a hotel. By the way, that church that you see, that is the oldest cathedral in the New World. This was built in 1532, and it's called the San Juan Cathedral. This is a historic zone. It's a beautiful area. The one in the bottom there is in front of my hotel in Cancun, and we do events in Cancun. And I don't have too many dates, but I enjoy meeting with people and going through this in a day and a half. It's intensive. Here are the 2 days coming up. Cancun is this coming May 6th and May 7th. You will arrive Monday evening, and we'll spend the time all day. We go from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Tuesday, and Wednesday half a day, and you will master this. You're going to leave so pumped, so ready, understanding exactly what to tell the tenants, what to look for in the building, how to use my proof of funds, etc. I have a Puerto Rico date, May 20th and 21st. You arrive on Monday evening in San Juan, and you will stay. I have a little hotel here on Cristo Street in Old San Juan. You will stay the 3 nights on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then you can leave Wednesday evening if you want, or you can leave Thursday morning. So those that want to do this, I tell you, you can assign to my fund. I will teach you also how to set up your own fund, because some people want to just raise money and do it on their own. Fine, I'll show you how to do that. You can use my fund as a fund of funds, which helps you a great deal. We'll go through that in the trainings when you enroll. Some people email me later, and last time we had people emailing saying, I just want to invest in your fund. I want to invest to find what's the minimum. You can invest as little as $25,000 to come into the fund and invest in the fund. I pay 6% interest. And you can invest, if you invest $250,000, you get 8% interest. And this is hassle-free. All your money is secured against all the assets in the fund. We have millions and millions of dollars in assets. You can buy, each unit is $25,000. You can use your IRA, your 401k. Heck, you can invest in the fund, and you can also come and learn how to assign to the fund. I also, in the training, in the day and a half, I teach you about how to reduce your taxes legally and how to have the most powerful asset protection program. We've rolled it out last year. It's been a bonanza. It's been a phenomenal, and it's a simple format for it. But let's just keep it simple. Those that are interested in this, here is the email, info@cmrei.com. I hold it for a small group of people. Here is the street. I own most of these properties you see here. I own the property here, the red property, and the blue one, Sunglass Hut. I have the Bovida under contract. The yellow one there I have under contract with a tenant right now. And all this beautiful stuff, this is a historic street. I have done this. I'm telling you exactly how to do it. You get a property under contract for as long as possible. Line up the solution that adds value, which is that tenant that's going to come in. You can assign it to me, or you can buy it if you can afford it. It's wonderful because the corporate guarantee helps you get the loan. Work with my fund in the single tenant retail arena, and you can get the biggest returns of your and return on your money, time, and effort, and you can get launched to the next level. This is truly, guys, the no money down in commercial real estate. And it's not only no money down, it's no risk. Because when you line up the property under contract and you line up the tenant, if the deal doesn't work, you have no risk. You walk away. This is a joint venture. I will coach you through it, guide you through it, pay you for it, because my fund benefits, my investors benefit, my students benefit. We have everything online. When you enroll as a joint venture student, I give you the online training, so you not only see me in person, but you have access with me online. You have the ready-to-use documents. I give you everything like a business model, turnkey. It's Word docs. You can use it for life, use it anywhere, use it for yourself, use it for others, and you get to spend time with me one-on-one. I'm very interested in this and very anxious to do it with you. What do you get? Here's the proof of fund on the right side. We have the proof of fund with Santander Bank. This is a Spanish bank. This bank has location in New York, in Florida, in California. It certifies that under original resources, my company has 3.3 million placed, and it's not standing, and that I'm an outstanding client of the bank, and that original resources is the owner of McSiff Hedge Fund. If you need more information, don't hesitate to contact me, my office, or the president of original resources, which is myself. So here you have the letter. This is what you will get. This is what you will use. We'll keep record of who are the students. This way, when we get a contact from the property owner or the broker you're dealing with, I can say, yes, this person represents the fund. We're moving forward. Give them all the attention. They take you seriously. You make the money. It's a turnkey system, guys. You'll get 4,000 plus national tenants. You have the package handy. You'll have all the real estate contracts you need. You have the proof of fund. You have my investing criteria, the checklist to use, and make it happen. I've done the trainings here. These guys from Dallas came in, and we sat down, and we did the training one-on-one. I'm pointing with some other people at my properties. And guess what? You continue consultations with me via phones. I want to guide you through it. I want you to get me the deeds. There's huge profit for both of us. Here are the dates. May 6 and 7 in Cancun. May 20, 21st in beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico. Limited to 10 people. I prefer 5 usually. You do not have to come in. I had somebody emailing the office saying, well, I don't want to go to San Juan and I don't want to go to Cancun. I just want to do it by phone. Can I do it by phone? Of course. You don't want to see me? I don't want to see you either. Just send me by email the letter of intent and get me the deeds. Let's make some money. But I'm available. I'm doing the trainings. I love doing the trainings. I love meeting people one-on-one. But you are not required to attend. You'll have the consultations every Monday to follow up. It outlines for you exactly what you got to do. 90-day strategy. You will get it done if you focus on it. You will see exactly how to structure this and how to make it happen. So those that want to do this, I can't find the phone number, but it's coming up. I have everything spelled out here in writing for you on the Monday calls. The single tenant property, I want it under contract. The national tenants, 10 to 15-year leases, triple net, and make it happen. Here is the phone number. Please write it down right now. I got people in the office that will take your calls tonight, right now, right here. 407-608-5448. The entire thing I'm going to do it for $2,000, $1,995. This price is valid for the first 15 people. I'm telling you guys, this is it. I don't know of anybody else in the country doing this training. I don't know of anybody else in the country that has a hedge fund up and running that's saying, go find me this, here's the criteria, use my money, don't think with your own money. Don't come back and call the office and say, but I don't have a lot of money right now. I don't need your money. I just need your backyard, your effort. Pick up the phone, call people, and make this deal happen. You will have the online commercial real estate turnkey course. I'll give you a full day training that we filmed when I focused showing people how I negotiate with tenants. I had a tenant consultant in the name of Paul. You're going to see how we negotiate. You'll see how when we negotiate letter of intent, all the possible hurdles, all the possible opportunities. It's a fun business. You're talking to a human being. You don't have to think Subway. Just think one person. You're calling them. You're having a chat. And some are nicer than others. But you know what? You will have a national tenant list with 4,000 people. I did a national challenge package. I'll give you the entire format and all the business paperwork, the documents and everything, which are like 7 pieces of information that will turn your financial life around. You have the proof of fund letter. You'll have the joint venture, all the details, weekly support with me. We started that on the 14th of this month. and you have the chance to attend with me personally. I don't assign this to anybody else. This is me personally, 1.5 days in Cancun or in San Juan. I want to be having success story with you. Those that will take action tonight, I'll send you a signed copy of my new book tomorrow with the one I wrote with Steve Forbes, Successonomics. You will see the 12 steps to success, financial freedom. I've gotten a lot of feedback on this. It's a big deal. It's really working great. So call the office, 407-608-5448, and tell them you're ready to join right now. Invest in single tenant retail. First deal assigned to me. I'll guide you through it. Second deal, take that money, that assignment fee, pay off your bills. Second deal, you will see that you can do it for yourself. Even if you're bankrupt, the bank is going to look at who is the tenant, what are they going to pay, what's the corporate guarantee, and they're going to have you sign what's called assignment of rent. They don't care about your credit. They don't even run credit when it comes to these tenants. And guess what? It doesn't even show on your credit report. Only apartment buildings show on credit reports and single-family homes. On these type of retail properties, they don't show on credit reports. You will have the website, you will have access online, and we will make this happen. info@cmrei.com, 407-608-5448. I'm Cherif Medawar. I enjoyed talking to you. I look forward to working with you, and I hope we'll make millions together. Thank you so much, and God bless.